The NC State Wolfpack have always been one of the better teams in the ACC under Dave Doeren. They just haven't been able to take that next step. They haven't broken through to a conference championship game yet. I say yet because it hasn't happened yet. And well, 2024 may be the year for it. Dave Doeren may have more talent on the squad than he's ever had as the head coach of this program from Raleigh. And with the expanded playoff field this year, can NC State be a sneaky pick to make the college football playoff? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to Prediction Season. It's where I predict all 134 FBS level college football teams. That's what I'm doing this summer. What should you be doing this summer? Watching them, of course. I'm doing your favorite team, so hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. Thank you for watching this video. It helps support my channel in more ways you can even imagine. And if you want to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, please like, comment, share, watch my other videos, and do anything else you can to help support the channel. It does mean a lot to me. We're going to talk about Dave Doeren's pack in 2024, but before we do that, you got to know how we're going to do it. We're going to take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the team's defense, and at the end of it all, we will go through the NC State Wolfpack schedule and give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. There are just a couple of footnotes before we do start. Right over here, you're going to see the stats that both the team's offense and defense was able to put up last season, as well as right below the team's logo, you're going to get the view of, or I should say, you're going to see the list of coaches on the coaching staff per your viewing pleasure. I know that sounded weird. I jumbled up my words. I apologize for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue on. We're going to talk about the NC State Wolfpack in 2024. You got to start with the most important position on the field. As I always say, that's the quarterback position. Brennan Armstrong is leaving Raleigh, and it just never felt like he found his rhythm and never lived up to expectations as a member of the NC State Wolfpack. Only 1,785 yards last season, 11 touchdowns and 7 picks last year with 61% completion percentage. You also are losing your backup in MJ Morris through the transfer portal, 719 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 5 picks. The quarterback play is what you feel like has held NC State back for the past couple of seasons, and now they are getting an absolute stud in Grayson McCall. During his 5-year tenure with Coastal Carolina, 3 of those seasons starting, 1,919 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Last season definitely was not his best season. I believe had some injury problems last year as well, but 2022, 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and I could go through the list of accolades that this kid has. He's been one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback the Sun Belt Conference has seen. He has over 7,500 yards, and I believe 87, 88 touchdowns, if my math is correct, for his career from Coastal Carolina. That's a very experienced player, a very dynamic player, and it's definitely going to elevate what the NC State Wolfpack have had from quarterbacks in the past. Lex Thomas does come back, and you do get a highly touted freshman in CJ Bailey, but it will be McCall's show to run for the Wolfpack in 2024. Your running back room does lose some, well, pretty solid pieces through the depth roles. Brendan Armstrong was the team's leading rusher last year, so not really a true one guy in the running back room, but you are going to be losing Delbert Mims. He had 282 yards last year. Michael Allen had 251, and Jordan Houston, who only had 25 carries for 96 yards last year, but definitely has some great upside to be a really, really good player. So you have Kendrick Raphael coming back, 309 yards and a touchdown last year, as well as a couple transfers coming in. Now, you do have Hollywood Smothers coming over from Oklahoma, kind of fell behind in a deep running back room there, so he is transferred over here to play with the Wolfpack in Raleigh. But Jordan Waters is the big name that comes over through the transfer portal. Last season, had his best season as a Duke Blue Devil, 819 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns last season. You figure he's probably going to end up being that number 1 back for the Wolfpack this upcoming season. The wide receiver room does lose a lot of names, and we'll go through some stats here as well, but Keon Lassane and Bradley Rosner are both going to be graduating. Those were both top 4 receivers for the team last season. Terrell Timmons is also going to be gone, as well as Julian Gray and Porter Rooks. All those guys leave through the transfer portal. However, there is one name coming back that you need to keep your eye on. That is Kevin Concepcion. If I said that last name wrong, I apologize, but 839 yards and 10 touchdowns last season. He is the only man on NC State's roster last year to have over 300 receiving yards. The only one, and he had 800 of them, 71 catches. He led the team in pretty much every statistical category besides yards per catch for the Wolfpack last year. He's going to be a very, very key player for this offense, as well as Dakari Collins, who was the third leading receiver, does come back. And you do get some really talented guys out of the transfer portal. Noah Rogers just got lost in a loaded running back room at Ohio State. We know what happened the last time an Ohio State wide receiver transfer that got lost in the room. I'm looking at Jamison Williams, even though Rogers hasn't had a ton of playing time. And Wesley Grimes does come over from Wake Forest as well, as a couple freshmen entering the room. Terrell Anderson and Jonathan Paylor should play some big minutes in the wide receiver room. And let's not stop there. In the tight end room, Trent Penix is gone to now play on Sundays, while Chris Tootle is gone through the portal. So Reed Mitchell and Juice Vereen do come back, while you do get Justin Jolly, who is a UConn transfer, and Dante Daniels. Got to see where he is from here again. I believe is a JUCO transfer, but he does come in and should play some big minutes in the tight end room, as well as NC State really loves to utilize their two tight end sets. Dylan McMahon is gone off the offensive line, again to play on Sundays in the league, and Lyndon Cooper gone through the portal. So your offensive line looks like this: Anthony Belton, Timothy McKay, Anthony Carter Jr., Jacarius Peak, Patrick Matan, and you do get a Notre Dame transfer in the offensive line in Zeke Correll. Let's talk about the offense in 2024. I have no doubt that it's going to be better than it was last season again. No one really besides Brennan Armstrong could run the football for this team on a consistent level last year. Jordan Waters will be able to do that. Hollywood Smothers, I think, will be a great number 2. Raphael showed some good flashes last season. Grayson McCall is a very experienced quarterback, and that is an upgrade over what Brendan Armstrong has provided for this team in the past. McCall has never had a 3,000-yard season in his career. That could change this year. Has some very talented weapons and 2 very talented freshmen. The offensive line, I think, is going to be really, really good, as, again, it loses Dylan McMahon, who was a very key part, but 24 sacks allowed last year. That number is probably going to be cut back down in 2024. What am I trying to say? Well, I'm trying to say that I think this is a very good NC State offense in 2024. Let's take a look at the defense for this team. As well, it's the staple for Dave Doeren. Yes, they allowed over 20 points per game, but 332 yards per game is really good. They're a great rush defense, and they should be again in 2024. They were also one of the best teams in terms of third down percentage defense. Leaving this defense, though, are some really key guys. Savion Jackson is one of them on the defensive line. 40 tackles, 2.5 sacks off the edge for him last year. He is gone, as well as CJ Clark and Nick Campbell. Both some pretty high upside players that will be leaving through the transfer portal. So your defensive line looks like this. Davin Vann is going to be coming back, was the leading tackler among defensive linemen last year, 42 of them to be exact, with 5.5 sacks. That was third on the team, I do believe. Noah Potter does come back, as well as Brandon Cleveland, Travell Price, and Red Hibbler. And you do get a transfer coming over to this team as well. Chaz Wallace is going to be coming over from Colorado to give a boost to this defensive line room. Peyton Wilson has gone to the NFL. That is your biggest loss on defense by far. Was good for 100 tackles easily every single season. Had 138 of them last year to go along with 6 sacks, second on the team. 6 passes defended, which was up there with a lot of the defensive backs last year. I believe that was also second on the team last season. And 3 picks, which was tied for the team lead. Very talented player. You lose a world-class talent in Peyton Wilson, as well as TK Wright gone through the portal, and Jalen Scott is gone due to graduation. Second leading tackler on the team last season. So Sean Brown, Caden Fordham, and Devon Betty come back as linebackers, while Wyatt Wright enters through the portal, and Elijah Groves is a freshman coming in who could see some big minutes being played. Your defensive back room definitely did lose some pretty solid guys, as well as Shaheem Battle and Robert Kennedy are both guys that you're now going to see playing on Sundays. Battle is the better one out of the 2 from the cornerback position, at least in my opinion, and statistically 46 tackles, 4 pass defended, 2 interceptions last season. And then Jakeem Harris has gone through the portal in the safety position. So your defensive back room looks like this. Aiden White and Brandon Siss are going to be coming back to be cornerbacks, while Corey Coley Jr. and Devin Marshall enter through the transfer portal. Devin Marshall, I know, is from Villanova. Checking where Coley is from here. It's a Big Ten school. It is the Maryland Terrapins. In your safety room, Devon Boykin and Bishop Fitzgerald will be coming back to the safety room. Those were 2 top 10 tacklers for this team last season. Oh, and by the way, Aiden White in the cornerback room led the team in passes defended. He had 10 of them last season. I apologize for any audio lack. It's being weird for me today. But nonetheless, I've already talked about Boykin Fitzgerald coming back in the safety room. You get a ton of guys entering through the transfer portal. Jahad Carter was a former Syracuse Orange, played a little bit at Ohio State last year, not much, but now he's with the Wolfpack. KJ Martin's coming over, Donovan Kaufman, and Tamarcus Cooley, as well as another potential high-impact freshman in Ronnie Royal III, who could play some big minutes from that safety position. And kickers are people too. Let's show them some love. The kicker from last year in Braden Narvison is going to be gone. He, I believe, has been invited to some mini camps. He may even have been signed by a team. Again, my knowledge of that is just not running through my head right now. But you do get your punter back in Caden Noonkester. Meanwhile, you will have a kicking battle with Kanoa Vincent and Colin Smith. One of those two guys will be your kickers in 2024. The defense, again, as I said, is Dave Doran's bread and butter. This is going to be a very good rush defense in 2024. Yes, it did lose a ton of talent. Mainly Jackson and Wright are two very notable losses, as well as Jalen Scott leaving this defense as well. But the defensive front seven is still going to be good. Maybe the linebacker room isn't going to be as strong as it has been. That happens when you lose a player of Peyton Wilson's caliber, but you were able to get Wyatt Wright over from the transfer portal. Your defensive back room, yes, does lose some talent as well, but I still think that's going to be solid. The pass defense could be really good. I still expect this team to be good on third down, and no matter what the numbers say, this is going to be a hard-hitting defense, and they're going to come ready to play every single snap. So let's take a look at what the NC State Wolfpack have in store for their 2024 football schedule. It looks like this. The schedule goes as follows. Any game at home is going to be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics, guys. That's that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Wolfpack are going to win pretty easily. Any game in yellow is, okay, watch out. Now that team is going to give the Wolfpack a fight, but they're going to be able to win. And red, of course, is a loss. You will have no problem with Western Carolina in week 1. We're going to jump straight to week 2. It's a neutral site game in Charlotte, North Carolina against the Tennessee Volunteers. And boy, am I excited to watch this game. Nico Iamaleava is the quarterback for Tennessee in 2024, and if the hype is real, he is going to be an absolutely phenomenal player with a ton of great offensive weapons. Tennessee does have some questions in the defensive back room, as they did lose a ton of talent, and Grayson McCall could make them pay. He's got a very talented and experienced arm. But I see Nico Iamaleava being able to outduel Grayson McCall here, and I also believe that James Pierce and this Tennessee defensive front will be a little bit too much for the Wolfpack to handle, and I got Tennessee winning this game. However, I think this is a must-see game. If the Wolfpack win the game, it is not going to surprise me in the slightest one bit. I know, I just said like 80 different adjectives there that all meant the same thing, but you get my point. I think this is going to be an absolutely incredible game. I just think Tennessee is going to end up being a little bit too much. I think they got a little more talent in their wide receiver room, a little bit more talent on their defensive front, especially with a player of James Pierce's caliber. And while these two teams are going to duel it out all day, I see the SEC side in Tennessee coming out on top in Charlotte, North Carolina, but the Wolfpack will be able to bounce back nicely and beat Louisiana Tech. I think they'll be able to get that one pretty handedly. However, then you have your first true road game of the season. You got to go on the road to play the Clemson Tigers, who I think are going to be a solid football team in 2024. Make no mistake, friends, Clemson is still one of the teams to watch in the ACC. Yes, the offense has not been as great. There's been lacking in quarterback play. The offensive line has not been as good. The defense isn't even as elite as it was when Clemson was back competing for national championships. The defense is still going to be really good this year. You're going to have to break through the Clemson defense. And while Grayson McCall is there, and this is a much improved NC State offense, I think the Clemson offense will be as well. Cade Klubnik, I expect to take a jump. Garrett Riley in year 2 of play calling is going to be able to get some sets figured out. And Clemson does have some pretty good talent there in that running back and wide receiver room. The team is only going to go as far as Cade Klubnik is willing to take them, but I think Cade Klubnik is going to be taking them to a win against the NC State Wolfpack, meaning the Wolfpack are 500 through their first 4 games, but you lose to 2 very, very good teams that absolutely can make the college football playoff. There is no shying in that at all. You're going to win week 5 against NIU, the Northern Illinois Huskies. Usually a pretty competitive team out of the Mid-American Conference, but they will be no match for the NC State Wolfpack. And I think Wake Forest is going to be a fairly easy game for NC State as well. Now, I put the game in yellow because Wake Forest is one of those interesting teams in the ACC to me. I think that's definitely a very interesting team to watch, but the Wolfpack are definitely more talented. They should win that one, and they should be able to beat Syracuse as well. That actually should be a game that's highlighted in yellow. So give me 1 second. Magical change in 3, 2, 1. Did you like how I did that there? Of course you did. Syracuse is another team that I feel like could definitely give the NC State Wolfpack a little bit of trouble here. I mean, Kyle McCord comes in, and he was not as bad of a quarterback as people say he was with the Ohio State Buckeyes. There's a lot of great talent offensively on the team. They always find a way to have some really good defensive backs. Syracuse is definitely another one of those teams that is going to be interesting to try to figure out. They could give the Wolfpack some trouble, but I still see NC State being able to come out on top. Any one of these ACC teams that has to go on the road and play Cal is in for a treat. Not only do I personally think that Cal is going to be a sneaky team in 2024 and definitely could pull off an upset or two. I think they're very capable of doing that. That road trip for some of these ACC teams is going to be absolutely brutal. Same thing when teams have to go on the road and play Stanford. I think a team of NC State's caliber, especially with the way that they play defense, are going to be able to come out with that road win. But make no mistake, don't be surprised if Cal gets some wins that they quote-unquote shouldn't, because some of the road travel for these ACC teams is going to be a lot. NC State definitely could be one of them, coming all the way from the other side of the country in Raleigh. You got to fly, 3,500 miles, something crazy like that. But I think NC State's defense will be able to do enough against this Cal offense, and the Wolfpack will come out victorious. I need Troy Taylor to show me a little bit more at Stanford. Sure, there were some flashes at points last year, but they weren't a great football team last year, and I don't expect them to be that competitive in the ACC this season. Sure, they may pull off a couple of wins, but they won't beat a team of NC State's caliber. I got NC State winning that one. Jordan Waters stays at home here, so Duke has to go on the road to face their former running back, and I think he has an absolute field day. Duke is another one of those teams that got decimated through the transfer portal. They also did lose their head coach, as Mike Elko is now the head man over with Texas A&M. I think NC State's going to be able to win this game, but again, Duke, another one of those teams that I know they lost a ton of talent. Don't count them out. There's still some solid players there with that program. You have Malik Murphy, a Texas transfer, coming over to play quarterback. Duke's another one of those interesting teams, but I think NC State's going to be able to win that one. And then I think you split this road trip at the end of the season. It's a Thursday game on the road against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and that's a team that's just continuing to trend up and up and up. They're climbing the staircase every single year. They're going to be a competitive side out of the ACC this year, but I do not see them beating NC State. Georgia Tech is going to get one win that they shouldn't. If you remember back to that again, they quote unquote shouldn't. If you remember back to Miami video, I predicted them to beat the Hurricanes. I'm not going to predict them to beat the Wolfpack here. The Wolfpack are going to have an extra week of preparation coming off that bye week. And by the way, they come off a bye week after that game against Cal. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. But again, I do have them splitting this road trip. So that means I do see a loss to their rival in the North Carolina Tar Heels. Again, a team that loses a ton. You have Drake May now gone to the NFL. Some other really talented weapons leave through the transfer portal as well, but you still have Omarion Hampton, who is one of the highest graded running backs according to PFF and will be one of the best running backs in the nation in 2024. And while NC State's probably going to have a good rush defense, I think there's going to be one game where the rush defense takes a little bit of a slip. Now they are this close, 9-2. They may be able to push it to 10-2 to be able to get that win. But again, I just see them splitting this load trip. I got a third loss for the Wolfpack somewhere, but 9-3 is still a good record. Good enough to get into the college football playoff? We'll see. Is this a team that can get there? Absolutely. They have experience, they have talent, they have physicality on defense. However, I think they come up maybe just short of an ACC championship game. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how the ACC plays out this year, but the NC State Wolfpack, no doubt about it, will be one of the more talented teams in the conference. I got 9-3. Let me know what you got in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. We will be doing the Washington Huskies, the national runner-up from last year, are up next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.